This episode is brought to you by Midwest Night Watchers, found everywhere on your favorite podcast platforms.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Piercing the Veil.
Hey, happy Sunday. Welcome.
Yes.
Welcome back, and good to see everybody in chat again.
Yeah, we got a lot of people popping in, it looks like, so that's great.
Yeah, I see Jason, Derek, Gary. I saw Polly. No, you guys are scrolling so fast. Where are we? Demaria, and Robin, Brown Dwarf, and Blazer, Heidi Pop. Welcome in, guys.
Yeah, so tonight we're going to talk about Tartaria and the mud flood and the theories behind that, and we're going to show some pictures that may or may not substantiate that. It's just weird and things that we think, okay, look at this. Why does this make sense or doesn't make sense? And we got Dr. John Stamey on board with us, and we're going to dive into the subject. And you may have seen him on Jessica the Cryptid Huntress, and he's has a podcast, ScaryCast, on your podcast platform. So check that out on your Audible, wherever you like to get your podcasts, and we'll let him tell more about what he's doing, and because he goes to a lot of conferences and does a lot of research and investigations, and he covers a lot of fields. So we'll just let him tell you so we don't mess it up. But we're really looking forward to this. This is a favorite rabbit hole or subject matter for us. We like Tartaria and giants and mud floods and lost civilizations. So we really enjoy this subject, and it's going to be fun tonight. So do you have anything else you'd like to say, Jane?
I just want to say I've studied Tartaria for quite a few years, and it just was fascinating. And the more you look into it, you scratch your head like, that makes no sense. Why would they have this and that and this back in the days that they had covered wagons and horse and buggies, and they're living out in shacks out in the prairie? So that just doesn't make sense to me. The beautiful cathedrals and beautiful buildings and all the strangeness, even having trains back in the day, you know, how fancy they were when we were told they lived, you know, a rough life out in the prairie. So John will explain a little more of that also. But yeah, this has been an old rabbit hole for me, and have believed it, and I still dig down into old pictures and photos.
All right, well, let's get into this, and we'll bring John up and get going.
Welcome.
Hello. How are y'all doing?
We're good.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Yeah, welcome to our podcast.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, I really appreciate being on here. I'm normally the inquisitor. I'm normally the guy that's asking the questions, but it's so nice to finally, for once, be a guest. I love it.
Well, we appreciate you coming, and we're glad to have you. And I know this is a favorite subject of yours also.
It is absolutely one of my very favorite subjects. And now I'm going to turn the tables on you for 1 minute.
Oh.
May I do that?
Yes.
Okay. What year is it?
We don't know.
Well,
You get the A plus for answering the question correctly. You
Nope.
get, I mean, and by the way, everybody, we didn't discuss this. I like to ask questions of people to just see who I'm dealing with. Boy, I'm dealing with some smart people here. I'm going to tell you that. The answer is we don't know. Can I give you my rationale? And then I'm going to turn over the TV set back to you. But I just love doing this because this is a Tartarian question.
okay.
Okay. Who was the Pope in 1000? We don't know, but what they did was they hurried up the years to let Sylvester II be the Pope because they loved him and they wanted him to be the Pope in 1000. So
Right.
they apparently, listen, we're talking about Europe. We're talking about feudal Europe. We're talking about a bunch of people that really don't know a lot. And they're told all of a sudden, it was like 960. Oh, no, it's 1000 now. And they got him in office. They got him in his position to say that he was there in the year 1000. So so much of that went on. We really don't know what year it is. Now, I think with some of the research that I've done, we're about in 1730. Now, I've just done a little bit of approximating, but I think we're in about 1730. And don't start asking me those questions because one day I went and I did a bunch of calculations and I figured about 1730. So we're not anywhere near 2024 going on 2025 in a couple of weeks. But who knows? And it's fun to speculate. Don't you folks agree?
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, I've seen all that where I've read it, going down the rabbit holes where the same exact scenario that you just said about the Pope and stuff, but we don't even know about if our history is correct before that.
Oh, no, we don't.
Right.
We absolutely don't.
We don't
You're
even know
right.
if they even
Again,
had the right timeline.
you're both right. This is great. I'm dealing with smart people. Thank goodness I'm on here with some smart hosts. Please continue.
Look at all the calendars we have. Everyone's fighting over the calendars. Like, no, this is the right calendar. No, this is the right calendar. We don't even know if those calendars are correct.
You're right. Again, you're right many, many times over tonight. So, and I agree. We don't know. I guess we go on what we are told, what we were told. And so we don't know what year it is. In fact, I'm a coin collector. I am probably one of the better coin collectors. I have a lot of things and I love coins. And there's something that I never did understand. Why are there years that we did not have coins minted with certain dates? Now, I don't prescribe for the fact that, well, we had enough coins. I don't agree with that.
Right.
We never had enough coins because we had a growing country. And so I just don't believe that. But what I believe is that we may have skipped a few years because whoever they are, wanted to skip a few years. And I've got one other comment, and then I am turning this over to you because you're my hosts and you're kind enough to let me talk about all this. Okay?
Okay.
What do we know about power, about electric power? Not a lot. I mean, we think we know a lot, but we really don't. One of the first people that made an absolute fortune on power is one of my heroes. It's J.P. Morgan. Do we all know who J.P. Morgan is?
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, J.P. Morgan was a financier. He was a brilliant, brilliant man. But it seems as though because of the power issue and because of the control issue, many people are probably not aware of this, but he was the original founder of Niagara Mohawk Power that made power, electrical power, from everything cascading off the off the Niagara Falls.
Yes.
And I mean, it was up to him to make sure that he made money. That was his job for his shareholders. And there are a lot of things like that where people in control changed dates on us. They changed what we understand to be the truth. And they start saying it enough, well, you get to where you hear it enough, well, maybe you think it's true. So the people in power, and again, he was a good man. He was a smart man. He is one, I mean, all right, I'm going to say this. I've never said this, but I have connected with him. You ever connected with spirits?
Mhm.
Yes, we've felt
Yeah, we
spirits.
dabbled in it.
Well, I was out jogging one night where I used to live, and I looked up, and his entire face covered the sky. I didn't know what to say, but I kept looking. And all he said was, "Don't worry, John, you're on the right path."
Hmm.
And then he vanished. I kind of got what's the word? I got a seal of approval from J.P. Morgan, because he knows I'm interested in the paranormal. He knows I'm interested in alternative histories. And I know he was one of the most important men that ever lived in this country. But it's just amazing when you see the real thing in the sky covering the entire sky. And I don't know if any of your fans have ever had that happen, but it happened to me once, and it was with Mr. J.P. Morgan, James Pierpont Morgan. And it was just, I didn't know what to say other than, oh my God. And then as soon as it was there, it vanished, and the sky was, we were looking at a sunset, and there we were. I finished my jog, but I'll never forget. And he really did look a lot like Mr. Moneybags from Monopoly, because Mr. Moneybags was actually patterned after J.P. Morgan. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but he was. And I'm done with my little with my little history lesson, and I will turn all this back over to you. But I just had some fun stuff I wanted to share with everybody, because history is really interesting, don't you think?
Right, absolutely. I mean, you can go all the way from Tesla and Edison, and the development between the power companies. I know how we got Westinghouse and all that fight, and Edison actually electrocuted an elephant, to prove that his theory was better than Tesla's. Or I think I have that right.
Yes, you do.
And then you can go all the way back to the Egyptian culture, to the pyramids, where they found encased in some of their clay pots and stuff that they think was an actual working battery. So how far back did the electricity actually go? And was that a part of Tartaria? And was that an ancient civilization's technology, and we just stumbled upon it and tried to figure it out and kept going with it? Is that how Tesla got a hold of all this free energy?
I don't know. I think Tesla had a great mind, and he could just pretty much read the stars, so to speak. And from what I understand, we're talking about the sixth, that battery comes from about the 6th century BC. And that's a long darn time ago. Yeah. We're talking about 30 centuries. I mean, and your fans and your listeners, can you imagine what it must have been like 30 centuries ago? You didn't have a lot of the same communication that we have, but you had a number of the same realities that we had. And it's like, what on earth? It must have been frightening.
Absolutely. I mean, you even have the hieroglyphs, or the pictures on some of the tablets and some of the temples that show what looks like a plasma ball or some kind of thing that would require a battery pack to run it.
Well, on top of some of those mysteriously beautiful edifices that were built whenever 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, we have this globe of Mercury. And as we know, and I was talking with Mr. Bill, who is my buddy that does all the, he does all the, gosh, what is it? He does all of the, I can't even think. Anyway, he does all the power stuff. And he said that those globes of Mercury were around a long, 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 long time. And we need to be very mindful of the fact that this technology that we're kind of discovering now was around many hundreds, if not thousands of years ago, because we really don't know what year it is today. Maybe 1730, maybe it's 1970. We don't know what day it is.
Right.
Right.
But we just know that things have happened, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, because I mean, even the pyramids, there's two theories speculating that they were power sources, that one could be like nuclear, and there's some involvement of mercury they thought was in the bottom part of that chamber filled up, and then there was another one where it's water or some kind of hydro plant to help produce electricity. Have you heard those theories?
Yes, I have, and I have seen artists' renditions of the pyramids that are all lit up. And I don't think that they would have done this if they hadn't had some type of indication that this might have been the truth. We really don't know. We wish we did. And I mean, we're just now, like in 1947, we discovered the Dead Sea Scrolls, which had a lot of information for us. The Book of Giants, another copy of the Book of Enoch, just all kinds of stuff that was totally different than what we might have imagined, but we've seen copies thousands of years apart. And it's just wonderful that we have this type of corroboration with what was going on. I mean, the scientists and the governments of the country, of the world, do not really want to talk about this, and they don't.
Right.
I don't know why.
It's like a big cover up, and I don't know why it would be that way. It's like any mention of a lost civilization. I mean, I call them lost because they hide them on us. And then any technology, it might have come from there. Instead of announcing it to the world, they keep it to themselves and act like they just developed it.
That is true.
And we're supposed to believe what we were taught in school.
Right, which was by and large not correct.
Right.
But that's okay. Those of us that are a little bit more awakened, we understand this. We do research. I know I do research. Mm-hmm. You folks do research. And we try to figure out what is really the truth. Right. And it's amazing what's really out there. It is.
Yeah, you can't have a closed mind. You have to have an open mind and use your common sense. Like, that does not make sense of what we were taught. And just use your common sense.
Right. It's like, if you look, it's amazing to see what is out in plain view.
Yeah.
That we don't talk about. So I don't know.
I have a map of Tartaria, or at least one that I had found, or one that I like. So I'll bring it up and see if it's one that you're familiar with, or maybe you can explain it a little bit if you know anything about it.
Okay, that is the map that shows Siberia and part of the Middle East as part of the Great Tartarian Empire. Now, we don't really have a lot of these, a lot of this information in anywhere where we can read it, but it does show that Tartaria was a huge part of the world. Now, what I can say is that China, because China was not part of Tartaria, and it's just amazing the fact that Tartaria was so big, and India was not part of Tartaria. So, and that picture that you've got is from the Chicago World's Fair, I believe.
Yes, I got a lot of stuff from the Chicago's World Fair. We're going to touch on that also, about the architecture and the buildings and
I will point out something about these world fairs that is very curious to me. They built these structures, and then within 6 months of these world fairs being over, they destroyed them. Why is that?
Right. And they claim
And
they
I've got
built them fast.
And I've got another question, and I don't care who this makes mad. You know General William Tecumseh Sherman,
right.
the man that burned the South. Why did he burn all those buildings when they had already won? Who was trying to cover all this? Somebody was trying to cover something up when all these buildings got burned down. I think, now I hope I don't have any knocks on the door and the men in black show up, but I mean, who was trying to cover up all this great technology that we had? I mean, it seems pretty obvious to me they didn't need to burn all of Atlanta down.
Right.
Because all they had to do was rebuild it. Why not just keep it? I don't know.
So speaking of Chicago,
Yep.
I have quite a few pictures from the World's Fair. And this is the centerpiece of it, where you have the great pond or the lake that goes through all these buildings. And if you can look and see these buildings, they're just, I mean, it's hard to believe that they're saying some of these buildings are paper mache and wood, and not actually stone.
Right. They're stunning buildings.
They really are. And I want to mention, I've got a very close friend up in Buffalo, New York. His name is Josiah. And he said that he is going to go take me pictures from the Buffalo World's Fair. 8 million people came to the World's Fair. I believe it was 1901. Now, if someone looks it up and it's different, I'll probably check this out here on my phone and just go back at least on the date. But so many people went and saw the Pan American Exposition. And some of those buildings are still around. He and his father, who's a professional photographer, they are going to take me some pictures of these buildings. Now, let me ask you something. On one of your shows coming up, would you like for me to bring those pictures so that we could take a look at the buildings that are still around?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'd love to, and I'll tell him. And so, yeah, okay, I'll let you guys talk. And let me just double check. I think it was 1901 or 1903, the Pan American Exposition. It was basically Canada and the United States, and it was just unbelievable, the pictures that he has.
So this is a building that still exists in Chicago from the World's Fair, and it's there today. I believe this one is the Science and Industry Building.
So they didn't claim that was paper mache, huh?
Well, they said they built some of them out of stone or mortar and brick, or however you want to describe them, and they got pressed for time, supposedly. So then they started putting them together as fast as they could. But if you look at all those pictures that we've been sharing, so there's an actual picture from the date in 1893.
Wow.
Oh, and by the way, I will say that the Buffalo World's Fair, as they call it, it was 1901. I was correct on that year.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's what fascinates me is my grandmother was born, I think, 1903 or 1904, something like that. And she would tell us stories of going to New Mexico in a covered wagon when she was a little girl. But they had buildings like this before she was even born. That's what amazes me. I mean, the details of these buildings are just stunning.
This is something that might have been built in the 50s of the previous century, not not in the 1900. Come on.
1800s, yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So this is another part of the Chicago's World Fair. This came off of the Grand Pond, as they called it, and this heads to Woodland Island, and this is the gateway that would lead you there. And I mean, it's just amazing that the architecture and how it survived all these years, but yet they say everything was just made spur of the moment. And there's a postcard from the grand entrance of White City.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah. Just the details. Wow.
The artistry is unbelievable that they were able to capture in these things. And I mean, we don't even have that type of artistry today.
And then the Ferris wheel was introduced in the Chicago World's Fair, and supposedly they had the Ferris wheel. The zipper was introduced. What else was there? Aunt Jemima, Wrigley's chewing gum, Cracker Jacks was first introduced to the world at the Chicago Fair. But I mean, that structure alone, just the Ferris wheel, how huge it was. That's like train cars that are on top of in this Ferris wheel that you can ride on.
Wow.
Look, this is
cars.
big. Okay, we have the largest the second largest Ferris wheel in the United States is in Myrtle Beach, where I live, and this is bigger than that. Oh my Lord!
Wow.
Yeah,
It's in Plyler Park, downtown Myrtle Beach. It's called the Sky Wheel. In fact, there are two of them. There's one over in Burroughs and Chapin Park, which is near 17 North bypass, and then there's one in downtown. And this is far bigger than those, and they were proud of those because they thought they were big. So I'm going to talk to my attorney because he is part of that family, and I'm going to say, Marshall, what do you think about this? Don't you think this is bigger than the Sky Wheel? It's going to be great to have him, and I'll report if it's all right. I've got a couple of things I need to report back to you on because I'm just lucky enough to know some people. Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely. Now, is your Ferris wheel? Does it have big trolley cars or the things that you sit in and ride on like this?
No, it's got like room for 3 people to sit. Now, come on.
Like almost like what
Wow.
you see in normal fairs, but just on a huge scale.
That's right, on a huge scale, and it's just unbelievable. So yeah, I would have got a note. We'll have a talk here in a couple of weeks. I talk to him about every day, and I think he'll enjoy it. The fact that we can't really compete with things like this, I just think it's amazing.
And then we were talking about electricity, and here is the Chicago Fair building all lit up. Because Tesla came in and supposedly lit all this up. But I mean, this is 1893, and he just started working with electricity, and yet look how bright this is compared to not just putting one bulb in somebody's house or a room. This is a whole actual fair being lit up with gigantic buildings, and the insides are lit up.
It's amazing.
Well, if you think they had trains way before that. Abraham Lincoln had a train, so that's what, middle of 1800s, 1700s. So they had trains, at the same time here.
Right. Let's see. Abraham Lincoln would have had those trains probably in about 1862, right after the beginning of the Civil War. So he would have had those that he was going around. So probably 1861, 1862.
So that's even before the World Fair here. I mean, just
oh gosh,
amazing technology that they had back then.
I mean, I can't imagine being in horse and buggy or however your lifestyle was at the time for 1893, and go into a place like this that looks like Roman or Greek architecture. I mean, this just looks like a palace. It looks phenomenal. I mean,
Right. And I think if I may talk about something, okay, I am very good friends with a number of Mormons from Salt Lake City. And I have met some of the parents of some of those wonderful missionaries. And I have talked with them about the Mormon tabernacle out there.
Mhm.
And they say to this day, nobody really understands how they were able to build a structure that tall and that grand when they had horses and buggies.
Right.
They don't understand that. But of course they don't really talk about it because it's their faith and they're just glad they have it. But I mean, what an incredible thing. I mean, those things are hundreds of feet high. And I mean, I'm going to be going out there hopefully this coming summer and see this. And it's just, these things were built in like the late 1860s. Just doesn't make any sense.
And claiming they built them within a few months. How?
Oh,
No way.
Oh,
It would be years. If
no.
we tried to make these now, it would be years. And they claimed that they built them within a few months for the World Fair. That's impossible.
I know. It is impossible.
So once
Yeah,
again, use your common sense.
it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I mean, every time I look at these pictures and I look at them all the time, and I try to find new ones from the World's Fairs. I mean, I just can't imagine something like this existing at that time. I can't even imagine something like this being built now.
Right. And the buildings that Russia has that would have been the Tartaria. I mean, those domes and everything. You can't explain how they're made.
No. Oh, you can explain it, but it doesn't have anything to do with the technology that they had back then. It just
Right.
doesn't. And I'm gonna give an open question to everyone listening. If you know how they could have done this without amazing technology from the year 2000 plus, please tell us, because the three of us don't know, and the three of us are pretty smart people.
Yeah, we
And
were
we have
told
no-
that everyone's living in log cabins out in the prairie.
Something like that. It looked
Yeah.
like a little house on the prairie.
Mhm.
Come on.
But the cities had buildings like this. It just it makes no sense.
So we know that Tartaria had giants, or it's speculated that they were giants, and we've had reports of giants our whole lives in history books and literature and all kinds of civilizations and stories. So we have architecture that supports that, or at least that's what I think it supports. But I mean, I could be wrong. But I mean, how do you explain stuff like this?
Yeah, why did they build
But
giant
you're not wrong. You're
Mhm.
absolutely not wrong. This defies explanation.
Yeah. A lot of those buildings had giant doors.
And
Right.
it's not like it's a one-off or one building that they wanted to make a spectacular entryway to it. It shows up over and over again in all these big cities and all these places. I mean, everybody shows these doors or take pictures of them. And a lot of times, if you look where the handles are, right here,
We
way
can't reach
above-
those handles.
Right.
No. So if you go up to your normal door, that handle is about your waist for you. So how big are these people if this is right there at their waist or higher?
It doesn't make any sense. Now, by the way, folks, I have got a book on my couch. May I disappear for 30 seconds and bring it back? Because this might be a very interesting point that I would like to bring up. Is that okay?
Yes,
Yep.
absolutely.
I'll give me 30 seconds.
All right. I
And
mean,
there's
let's look at these doors.
well, the details in these doors. You know, they're made so perfectly, all the carvings and stuff, and there's no mistakes in the carving.
Right. No mistakes.
Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Look at that one. Oh,
Would you like to have one of those at your house? I know I would.
that's stunning.
I mean, it's amazing.
Wow.
They can't do that today.
Why did they destroy all these buildings? That's so sad.
At least we have
Wow.
pictures of them. I
Oh
mean,
my gosh.
that's wonderful. Well, I have got, and you know, all I got to say is whenever I do podcasts, and I hope you're okay with it, we just kind of have a free flow of ideas. And I've got a book that I bought about 2 weeks ago that really, really, it just opened my eyes. Can I have a minute to show this book and explain why this is so? Okay, you ready?
Put you on the big screen. There you go.
Okay. It's called, there we go, The Secret History of Human Resets.
Oh wow.
And this is by Donnie Davis. I don't know who Donnie Davis is. Haven't been able to find him. I haven't looked too much. And what it does, I mean, it's a very well referenced book. Now, I don't know if these pictures were created with Adobe Photoshop or what, but he has pictures of a number of cities like Moscow, Madrid, Prague, Helsinki, Copenhagen, Malta, Italy, Dresden, Rio de Janeiro, Turku, Finland, Toronto. It has pictures of these cities with no people in them. And they're probably about 10, 11, 12 o'clock. And I think it's very interesting that he has pictures of these cities with no inhabitants.
Yeah.
Because when they talk about the great resets, they say that, you know, when they reset, people left the cities. Now, I don't know. I've got a friend who is an expert in forensics, and I'm going to have him look at this book and tell me if these pictures were concocted or created or if they were real. I mean, he's pretty good at that. And I just think it's amazing that there are pictures of these great cities with no people in them. I mean,
right.
Okay, and I
seen
told
lots of
my,
pictures like that.
and I was talking to my best friend Mike, who I visited him and his family this weekend, and I said, he said, John, I mean, is this real? I said, Mike, I don't know, but what I do know is I'm going to find out. These pictures, all this stuff that we look at, I mean, this weekend we were looking at the videos of the landings on Mars. Are you aware of that?
No.
Are you talking about structures that have been found, or what?
No, I'm talking about astronauts that we have sent to Mars.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, it's like, you know, I don't know what all this is about. But we've got some screen captures, and I'm going to try to figure out what my friend thinks is real versus something that was created in Photoshop. But I mean, it's amazing the things that are out there, and we need to investigate them because, you know, I think good quality stories need investigation. Don't you agree? I bet you agree with me, don't you?
I do. I mean, I've went down the rabbit hole and saw the pictures comparing landscapes from Mars to the deserts in Arizona and other places, and it looks like some of it matches up. Now, I don't know if that's AI or they photoshopped. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there when the pictures were taken or anything, so I just go by what I visibly see, and it shows it like it's identical. So I don't know.
And if you look in the secret space program, they say that we've been to Mars for quite a while.
Right. And this book,
we got bases underground there.
This book that I just showed you is 376 pages. Now, you know, it is not a big bestseller. Probably sells 20 or 30 copies a year. So in my opinion, my humble opinion, there is no reason to spend the money to do all this photoshopping for a 375-page book that is not going to sell. So
Right.
there must be something to, I don't know what there is, but there must be something to this. So that's why I'm going to do some exploration. And if all of a sudden one week you don't hear from me, you better start calling my attorney and say, we haven't heard from John. We don't know where he is. Wonder who knocked on his door.
We'll
Yeah.
send out the cryptid hunters to find you.
Oh, Jessica will find you. I'll tell you that. Yeah. Thank you. But and I think that's important, that as those of us that are exploring this and trying to figure out if it's real, I think it's good that we stay in touch with each other in case all of a sudden somebody falls off the face of the earth, and at least we know that and we're aware of it, and maybe we try to find it. I don't know.
Well, I have a question on that book. How many resets does that book say we had? Because we've heard that there's like 5 or 6 resets that we've had.
It talks about 3 or 4.
Okay.
It talks about 1856.
Okay.
Which, now, there was a gigantic depression in 1856. I'm a coin collector, and there are a lot of weird things about the coins from 1856. I'm trying to buy some right now. I mean, as a coin collector, I enjoy this. There's a 1727 reset. And if you count the fact that they compressed the years in like 960 and got us up to 1000, that's another reset. I mean, I don't know. Jessica and I are going to go through a lot of our information, and we're going to try to come up with a list of the resets. Do you want us to talk about it on your show?
Sure. I
mean, that'd be great.
We've speculated from what we've seen that we've had at least 5 resets, and we got another one coming soon.
And Noah's flood was not the only reset.
Now, that I wouldn't call that a reset. I would call that a global catastrophe. I don't think that was a reset. I think that was, the real thing. Is it okay to describe it like that?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And what are some of the people that are listening to your podcast here and saying, or do they get to comment? What do they think about all this stuff? I'm just curious.
Yeah, they've so far they've been on board with stuff that we're talking about. They're really getting into it, and they haven't quite commented on the reset part yet, but they've been commenting on some of the stuff we've been talking about it. And usually our listeners are pretty much on board with the subjects that we follow, just like in Jessica's crowd and other people's shows crowds. You have the ones that usually follow and hang in there with you.
Well, that's good. And one thing, since I brought this up on your show, I would like to come back and report, on what I found out, because I think it would be interesting, because your audience deserves to know.
Yeah, we all need to know the truth. Just like this picture, when they start digging underneath buildings and you find old buildings underneath these buildings that you had no idea was there. Why can't they tell us the truth? We built on top of buildings.
So that's my question. If this is at level of what we see and they dug around it, and I'm assuming they're digging this building out for some reason for repairs, why are these windows and doorways below the grade of the soil?
And there's tons of pictures like this.
That is a great question. We don't have the answer right yet.
Right.
But that's you get an A+ on that question, okay?
We have, and you've probably done the same thing. We've seen photos and photos of these like arches that would be for windows or doors that are part way above ground and part way below ground. It's just over and over in these cities.
That one fascinates me.
We can see where they're digging out below even the structure that they revealed above the current where people are living in. So, what, and I don't understand these columns. And they bricked them in. So they were like doorways or places to go. And it looks like there might be statues in there. So why would that be covered up below ground?
Until we determine your guess is as good as mine, it's as good as anybody's guess. And I agree with you. What the heck is going on?
Yeah, like Brown Dwarf said, the more you dig, the more you find.
May I ask, where is this picture located? Do we know?
Yes, I have it written down, but my my photos, before I loaded them up, I had them all organized and had the cities and everything listed. But when I sent them to the show, they got mixed up. So I don't know exactly right offhand, but this picture is all over the internet, and you can do Google Eyes and find it easily, and it tells the city.
Okay, well, great, because I'm taking notes now. I'm big about taking notes. So I've got 4 questions that we need to answer, and I think, and we'll talk about these. And is it okay if we work together to get these answers?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've been collecting these pictures for years.
You see that one right there, it's just so weird that sidewalk is supported by beams.
Right.
That's so weird. I mean, what is going on? Anyway, I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Maybe we can get a structural engineer to tell us why would someone build something like that? Because sometimes you have to get an engineer to tell you what was the reason that was done, and that can tell us a lot of answers. So I'll put that on my list.
I mean, these buildings are they're almost like.
So I mean, this is worldwide. All these buildings that have been built with architecture that we don't experience now or have. I mean, they're everywhere.
I mean, what I can tell you is one of the tallest buildings in the world, other than the Empire State Building, was the Arc de Triomphe in Paris. Now, why did they build a building that was so damn big? It didn't make any sense.
Right.
But it's there.
And conspiracy has it that when they came over here to kind of find these buildings, they took over all the, and turned them into churches. All these buildings, they turned them into cathedrals and churches, and all the Capitol buildings, they pretty much took them all over.
And this is the White House when they were digging and doing restorations and stuff. So once again, it looks like, and I know the White House has basements and deeper floors inside the main building. In the main building of it, I mean, it goes down for many floors, but why out front is there cavities and different layers?
Right. And I'm going to make a note, and I'm going to tell you something. Let me make a note. I was in Virginia Beach. I went to celebrate the fact that I had completed my doctoral examination at North Carolina State. And I took a friend of mine who was the head of SPADE, that is the paranormal research group in Kentucky. And I was asking somebody when we were eating dinner, I said, are there any interesting things downstairs? They said, yes. There's like a whole basement full of shops and everything that nobody ever goes to. So we, of course, as soon as we finished our dinner, we found out how to get down there. And there was one boy that was down there, and it was like 2 floors subterranean below the main floor. And we talked with him, and I can't find his business card. I'll find it one day. But I said, well, why are you down here? He said, well, some people come down here and we have very interesting conversations. I said, well, how long has this thing been vacant other than you? He said, years. And it was just amazing what was below the Cavalier Hotel, which was truly the grandest hotel of all in Virginia Beach, which was it was a big deal. And I didn't know this was like, I hate to tell everybody, this was in 2010 when I finished my doctoral degree. And I didn't know anything about the resets and all this. I wish I had. I could have asked some really good questions. But I mean, there are buildings, and I've got a note on this about on my sheet about the Cavalier Hotel. I got my little notes, and I'm going to be answering these questions. If you'll have me on again here in a couple weeks or months or whatever, I'd like to answer these questions for everybody and see if we can figure out what is going on. I think it takes good inquiry to figure out what's going on. Don't you agree?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I love people like you that are really interested in the topic that we're talking about, because I can tell you've researched this for years.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what the heck is going on? So I think it's up to us. If we found some things, we better try to figure out what they are. Do you agree?
I agree, absolutely. And speaking of cathedrals, we have a bunch of pictures of cathedrals that I was going to bring up tonight. Speaking of
oh my God.
And they were built just absolutely perfectly for frequency, vibration, and going down the rabbit holes. These were healing places. But
that's Notre Dame, right?
Absolutely. I was just getting ready to say that. This one I know for sure where it came from.
That's Notre Dame de Paris. And it's got the greatest organ in the world, because I'm a musician. And I mean, it was incredible. It's still incredible.
Wow. Yeah, and the pipe organs was a mystery.
So the other theory or stuff that we like to look at is, why were these cathedrals built so big?
Mm-hmm.
Why is there stained glass in every single one? Why are these huge pipe organs inside every one?
Right. And now what I can tell you is, when I've only been to England twice.
Look at those pipes. Oh.
And my host took us to Salisbury Cathedral.
Wow.
Salisbury Cathedral is so tall, there are occasionally clouds on the top inside of, and there were that day. It's unbelievable how tall they are. And it's like, how could they have built something that tall? We can't build anything that tall today.
And they really didn't understand pipe organs. There's only a few that really could play them and fix them and understand them. They're just beautiful back in those days.
So Dr. John, the interesting thing that we like to talk about all the time is the music that they played in these cathedrals were 432.
Mm-hmm.
And that's supposedly a healing frequency. So not only are you going to church or a cathedral to heal your body or your soul, but you're also there to heal your body. And if you look at the reflection from the stained glass windows, it's also hitting the instrument that is making the sound. And so then it goes into the blue light theory, that there's certain light frequencies that goes along with music frequencies that can be generated in these cathedrals to heal your body also. Have you ever heard that?
No, I haven't, but I've got question mark 432 church organs. I'll find out about that.
They moved the music to 440 because they know it wasn't as healing. So our rock music, hymnals, is now at a 440 hertz, but it used to be a 432, which was more of a healing hertz. That's why a lot of tuning forks, they recommend the 432.
Right. I'm familiar with that.
And these cathedrals were perfect with the ceilings and everything to resonate and bounce off all these frequencies. Oh, beautiful buildings. Oh.
And this is the one that they just restored after the fire that they had. But I mean, look at these spires. I mean, You tell me if that was there to generate electricity or if that was there to get energy out of the ether and bring it into the church for healing or for whatever reason. I don't know. But I mean, that's another speculation that we hear all the time.
Right. That's what they say is all those are for the free energy.
But it also could bring in frequencies that are just traveling through the air.
There's
for
no way
healing purposes, and I don't know.
There's no way we could build anything even close to that these days.
Well, I've got this is one of my questions now, and I'm going to go through and try to answer these. And if you'll let me come back, we'll see if we can at least talk about potential answers for these are good questions.
And that's massive. Even
I mean, we're definitely going to have you back, and we can even make a little mini series, or you can come back as many times as you want, and we can just keep going right down this this trail of what we're finding. And
and don't call it a rabbit hole. This is not a rabbit hole. This is a trail of advancement as we try to figure out what's going on. You know, I think of a rabbit hole as kind of a paranormal, weird kind of thing. This is not weird. These are legitimate, good questions, and I think that we need to try to answer them. You okay with that?
Absolutely.
And I'll call you now. You better be careful. I got your phone number.
All right.
I got your phone number, and we'll have some talks, and we'll see what we can do to answer these. And by the way, everybody listening, I hope you'll come back and listen to our answers, because I think they're going to be wonderful. I mean, I know that this is kind of how I do. Vic's vapor rub. Okay, this is how I do ScaryCast. We talk about topics and we bring them back, and we bring the people back because questions are important. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
All right. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think people are probably wondering, why am I showing Vic's vapor rub? And I remember this as a kid, you know, being in the glass bottles, and look what color the bottle is. Just like our stained glass, we were talking about healing properties. It's a blue bottle. Phillips magnesium, blue bottle. Now this one's green. This is castor oil. But why are they picking these colors for all these old bottles? And you can't get colored bottles now. Everything's clear glass or plastic, or
it's all plastic, but not for Phillips
So if you go along with what I was saying, or not you go along, but if you follow what I'm saying, that we're talking about in the cathedrals, the stained glass windows were there for the frequencies and the light to heal your body with the light frequencies of the colors, the blue, the greens, the oranges. They all have frequencies that work on your body. And then I came across thinking about the old medicine that we used to have that came in a certain colored glasses.
Right.
So other than that, I probably wouldn't have ever brought these pictures up talking about Tartaria and past technology, but it just kind of fit right in with the cathedrals to me anyway.
Well, I mean, I agree with you 100%. I mean, it's like, what is going on? Because we need to try to explore this and try to get answers. Maybe some of them, it doesn't matter, but there are some of them out of this list of 9 questions. I guarantee you there are a couple of these that really do matter.
So here's our visible chart of our light spectrum, and all these colors have a wavelength, a frequency, and energy assigned to it for what fields they reach. So I'm just speculating, and I've seen this other places before where they talk about each color. I mean, that's why they say when you go out in the sunlight, you absorb vitamin D, and you know, you get that natural healing. And it's also the same thing, I'm assuming, for our medicine bottles and for the cathedrals that would have the light shine through and hit, just like I showed the picture of the organ.
Just like what Raymond said, old Mason bottles are blue.
Oh.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I got some old blue ones upstairs. Yeah, all the old mason jars were blue.
Yeah, if you go back to the original bottles, they were blue, and sometimes you could find them in kind of a greenish, light green color.
Writing that down. That's a great thing to contemplate. So that's on my list of questions. I'll get these to you, and we'll try to figure some of these answers out.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just some of these thoughts just come to me, and not sometimes I see them in other places, and then I expound on them, and I find new information, and it's like I haven't ever seen anybody put the medicine bottles and the stained glass together before. That's just something that I thought of when we started looking at these cathedrals, that the stained glass is there to heal you. So then I figured out that the medicine bottles were coming in the same colors with the same kind of glass. And then with cathedrals and the music, we also have the big giant bells that hangs in every steeple and every our schools or courthouses, cathedrals, churches all had these bells.
And they're slowly disappearing.
Right.
Now, supposedly the bells are also certain frequencies that promote healing and other properties, and that's why they had them hanging. And supposedly that's the reason why during the Civil War and other reasons that they destroyed these bells or got rid of them was because they didn't no longer want them to work the way they were designed to work in these cathedrals.
I just can't believe they destroyed so much of this.
I'll not say what I think. That would be very politically unpopular, but I agree. I don't understand why they did it. We'll just leave it at that, and your listeners can use their own judgment to guess what I'm thinking.
So
everyone's got to do their own research.
Later on our podcast that we put it out over Audible for the MP3s and stuff for them to listen to. So you'll have to come to Midwest Night Watchers to our YouTube channel, or Rumble or Spotify will also have the video up, so you can see these pictures for yourself that we're talking about it and use as a reference. Otherwise, if you're hearing just the audio of our show, you kind of lose a little bit of the show by not seeing the pictures that we're showing.
Well, if you want to get me some of these pictures, I can put them up on ScaryCast.com. I mean, I'd be glad to do that. I mean, you may have a way to do it, but I'm always glad to help people that are interested in research, because that's why I got a doctorate. That's why I love research, and I'm always glad to help people. So just know that offer is open. Fair enough?
Yeah.
Fair enough. Absolutely. I will get these pictures to you. Any of them that we've shown tonight, or any in the future that I find, I can also share with you if you'd like.
Yes, I would love it, because what I will do is I will put them up on ScaryCast.com, and I will make a note on ScaryCast on Facebook to just go to ScaryCast.com for pictures basically from tonight's episode.
Okay.
And oh my goodness, tell us about this picture. My goodness.
So these are books that they've been finding in basements and old courthouses and old government buildings, and that supposedly, and even churches, some of them are even religious books. So why would they be this big? I'm assuming this picture is original, that it's not AI, because I've seen it everywhere, and I've seen.
There's a lot of pictures of large books out there.
I don't know. I've actually seen this picture way before we even started doing our shows, when we were just, me and Jane would just talk about these subjects and find stuff like this. So I think this picture, even when I found it, predated everybody doing AI and stuff.
Amazing.
And there's no reason why they would have to have books that big back then, in the 1800s. if there was no giants. Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah.
Oh, I've seen that one too for
Mhm.
years.
Now, I'm not saying any of these. I mean, this looks like, if you look at the side where it has the writing and the notations on the side, that looks like what people would do to film or negatives. I mean, somebody could have possibly done this picture, but I don't think so, because I've actually seen a giant book in my life. I mean, if you go to the county courthouses now, they have big plat books that they
Right.
write in. Not necessarily.
Sure they do. I mean, I'm from Winston-Salem originally, and when I was in real estate development, I remember these gigantic books that they would have like this. I mean, you're telling the absolute truth.
So, and the weird thing is, this is not just ledgers.
Yeah, they're books.
I mean, there's that they're actually books that have pictures and writing, and some of them are actually literature even. Can't really see what that says, but I mean, I just think that's just amazing. And it all leads back to whether you believe Tartari and giants, and we've had giants listed in literature and history books, forever.
Every time there's proof of giants, it disappears. Why don't they want us to know that giants were real? I don't understand that either. Just tell us, yes, we had giants back in the day. And they were in buildings.
Right. I'm going to go get another book that I just got. I'll be back in 20 seconds, okay?
All right, absolutely.
Someone in chat will start counting.
So let's see what everybody in chat's saying. Sorry, everybody, that I haven't been bringing up all your comments. I was just getting I have to run the pictures and talk at the same time, and sometimes I lose track of what you all are saying in chat. So thank you very much for your patience tonight. So what do you got, John?
Okay. Now I'm going to completely change the topic, but I think it's important, and you'll see exactly how it fits in. Is anyone familiar with Alec Newall's book Coevolution?
No, I am not.
I have not seen that.
This is probably the best description of an abduction. This man is from New Zealand. He left a town in New Zealand, and he was supposed to be at the next town in about 3 hours. He got back in 10 days.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It was incredible. And he talks about all the things that he saw. And they're just amazing descriptions. I mean, I just got this book. I mean, I don't know who all has ordered it, but it's amazing, because if you go back in history, because this is a fairly new book. This is, let me get the copyright. I think this book's about 1997. And I think if you go back in history to the books that we have and look at them, you'll be amazed at what we are told. I mean, this book, I've read it. I think it's the best story and the best account of a capture of an earthling and what he went through, of an alien abduction. And there are books out there like the one that I showed a little bit earlier. This one here.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of books out there, and many of them are self-published, like both of these. But people don't try to write a 350-page book, or in this one, Coevolution. They don't write a 325-page book to just do it for fun.
Right.
There's good information, and I think it's important that you get good references from people like me. I mean, I read a lot. And, I'm glad to let people know the books that I think are pretty good. And I don't mind having discussions about what's good about them and what's bad about them. But, there are lots of books that we need to look at. Now, one other book that I don't have with me is the book Penetration by Ingo Swann, the greatest psychic of the last century. And I don't know if y'all know about Ingo Swann. The government used him. Ingo Swann.
I know the name. I've heard some of the stories, but I haven't read a book or anything.
He is the greatest psychic of the last century. Remote viewer and everything. And you better read and take what he says for the truth. I believe what he says. And I, by the way, when I was getting my doctorate at North Carolina State, I was a research associate at the Ryan Institute of Parapsychology. And I met Joe McMoneagle, had breakfast with him. And I asked him about Ingo Swann. He said Ingo was the best thing. He was the best remote viewer I have ever seen. What he said was the truth. And Ingo Swann has a lot of good stories that people need to read and understand, because there are a lot of good stories about remote viewing and psychics and what they've seen. And that kind of helps, it kind of helps frame what we've got, and we've got to get more information, and good solid information like Ingo Swann, Joe McMoneagle, his books, and all those guys. They know what they're doing, and at least I think they do, and I believe in what they say. So if I get a knock on the door while we're running this show and I disappear, you'll know the men in black came to get me. But but I hope they won't. Because there's so much out there, we may as well, there's not a lot they can do to silence people anymore.
Right.
So anyway, I think the more I will do my first sign off on that. We got plenty of talking left to do. But my first thing that I will say to all of your listeners is please do research.
Yes.
If you like these topics, contact me, contact your hosts about some books that we believe are very important, and learn from them. That's what you've got to do. That's how I started when I was getting my doctorate, and now it's just gone crazy. I have a podcast. I've written 6 books. I run conferences, and I just think it's wonderful to learn, because as we learn, we begin to understand what's real and what's not. Do my hosts agree with me?
Absolutely. And you already have a book suggestion in chat. Little Twisted said, Dr. John, I recommend reading The Discovery of Nothing. The book is no longer available, but you can find it free in PDF form online.
The Discovery
of Nothing.
The Discovery of Nothing.
And I have not heard of that book. I don't know what that's about either. So that might be something good to look at.
No, I'm going to go get it right after this show. I've got it. Wow. I've got it right here on my list of things to do. That's how I find out good things. I spent all weekend with my buddy Mike, telling him what he needed to go read. He loves it, and so do his parents. His mom was a senior vice president of IBM. His dad was a city administrator for Burlington, Vermont. I mean, they love doing research about this stuff because they know that there is more than just what we're fed by the press. And they know it. And I'm just so glad they're my friends.
Now, Jean Hudson has an interesting question that we talked about resets. She goes, so what is the purpose of resetting history and why change it?
I have no idea, but in a lot of instances, it's a way to cover up what has happened, I guess. Now, what do you think, my hosts, what do you think? Do you kind of agree with me on that one?
Absolutely. We all know that civilizations that conquer other civilizations destroy their history and insert their own, like they were there from the very beginning.
And
let's face it, history is written by the winners.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And if we're getting too awake and using technology, they don't want that, though. So they wipe everyone out and dumb everybody down and start all over again. And then you're supposed to believe what they say is history, and we're supposed to believe everything we're taught.
I mean, we went through that just a little while ago with them taking down all the historical statues in the U.S. to cover up that history and get rid of that information.
Well, now they've just done that.
Right.
I mean, whether you like the fact that we had a lot, now I don't want anyone to get mad at me, but we had a lot of Confederate general statues that were taken down. But yeah, whether you like them or not, that was history.
Right.
And I mean, we've had a lot of this happen.
Columbus.
Pardon?
And Christopher Columbus statues also. I mean, they didn't know when to stop. They just started going after, and they went after Civil War generals and president statues. They had to take them down, or they were getting ripped down.
And if anyone is interested in doing your own research, like we're saying, look up orphan trains. That's another question of mine, is all the adults have disappeared, but there's tons of children.
The orphan trains are in this
starting
book.
all over again. The orphan trains, Cabbage Patch Kids. There's some interesting searching that, you know, the children were to reset everything over again.
I have a theory on the orphan trains, and I'm not saying that I'm right. I don't know if there's any truth to it or not, but about that time when the orphan trains were happening and all these thousands of kids were being moved across the country, the mental institutions were full at capacity. They had thousands of people in each facility, and I'm wondering if that was their parents that were committed to mental hospitals because they were doing like we're doing right now on the show. We were getting too close to the truth, or we were telling things that weren't popular, so they were put in institutions, and their kids were shipped off where they could then start putting them in schooling or teach them the history that they wanted this next generation to learn.
Wow.
Yeah, well, we don't know, but
this
is something that we can research.
It's just that you look at the facts and you scratch your head and go, that doesn't make sense. But you don't have the answers because they hid them so well.
You know, at one time in history, you could mail a baby through the U.S. mail.
I haven't heard that.
When? Tell us about that.
Oh, that's new to me.
Yeah, you could actually have your child delivered through the mail, and it'd be just like putting them on a train or a plane today, you know, and having them take care of them, you know, while they made their destination. But I believe if you look it up online in the early 1900s into the 1800s, whenever the mail system came about, you could actually pay the postage and have it go through the system. I mean, it wouldn't be in a box or anything like that, but they would come pick up your child, or you would deliver it to the post office, and they would make routes on their way through the cities with your child.
My goodness.
That's new to me. Wow.
That's unbelievable, but it certainly is believable, but it's unbelievable that they would allow that. But
I mean, that kind of fits in with the orphan trains, with all these kids traveling on these trains without any adults other than the workers of the trains or whoever is running them.
Those poor kids.
Absolutely.
Wow. If we only
I have a couple more pictures, and we'll call it a night after these pictures, and then we'll let you tell everybody about your what's going on with you after tonight. So I'll bring a couple pictures up, and since we were talking about lost civilizations and Tartaria, and I thought these pictures would be good to end the show on.
Oh, wow. Yeah, even thousands of years ago, how did they build some of these things?
Was that in the Middle East?
Yes, I believe so.
That's
like
not
I said,
Petra,
like I
is
said,
it?
my pictures got jumbled up, and the descriptions of them went away. So
Is that a part of Petra?
It's somewhere over there in those civilizations that they've been excavating,
Okay.
and they've supposedly this civilization carved this all out of this mountain.
Yeah, Petra is
But
beautiful.
then,
Anyone
but then it
look at
makes you
Petra.
wonder, was this all covered up as part of the mud flood?
Oh, wow. So there you go. Thousands of years ago. How'd they build these? Come on.
And what was their purpose?
Oh,
Why would they have to have these
wow.
tops on them that look like antennas?
Yep, free energy. Just beautiful buildings back then.
There are.
Oh my gosh.
So you come across these temples
Oh,
and these that were dug out and carved out of the mountains or the surrounding environment, as you will, and we've discovered them or rediscovered them, and there's always that question,
wow.
who did this? You know, because we have the question of the temples down in South America, all the pyramids and stuff, and supposedly even that civilization found those and repurposed them for their living. So do we know 100% who lived in these? No, we don't, or we don't know who actually built them either. We can speculate, but we know that some civilizations have been reported as finding these and using them for their own purpose.
Nobody knows who built Petra, and if anybody don't know what I'm talking about, look up the pictures of Petra. It's just like these. It's a city that's carved into a mountain. It's amazing, and nobody knows who did them. And these thousands of years old. That's just amazing.
I mean, I can't imagine
Wow.
carving all these details with whatever tools they would have had at
Without
the
making a
time,
mistake.
and how intricate it is.
Oh, those are stunning. And that's even older than Tartaria. Yes, Polly agrees. Yeah, Petra is beautiful. And it's a mystery. Oh, wow. And what tools they had back then that you wouldn't chip away a big chunk and go, oops, now I have to start over again.
So what do you think of that, Dr. John?
Pardon me?
So what do you think of that? I have no explanation on how those were made or who made them, and
it's just amazing, and research will help us determine. All right, so did you want to let me go through my list of upcoming events?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, January 11th, Fannin County Food Bank, the UFO conference. This is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have Jessica Jones, Matt Delph, Matt Delph, and a couple of other people, and I'll be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. You can go to ScaryCast tomorrow. I've got to put all these up. On March 22nd, the Georgia Bigfoot Conference will be in Demarest, Georgia, at the Piedmont University Auditorium. That's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of cool people there. And then on May 9th and 10th, the Myrtle Beast Bigfoot Conference here at the Sheraton Four Points. So we're going to have a lot of fun, a lot of great things, and some more conferences coming up after that. Be sure to check tomorrow, Monday. I'll go ahead and get these dates up so that everyone can see them. And we hope you'll be there. And I'll talk to you folks about coming to at least one of our events because you're very interesting. You've got great things to talk about. And I hope you'll have me back.
Oh, we'll definitely have you back.
We most definitely will have you back. You know, we'll try to get to one of your events. I like to play on words for Myrtle Beach to Myrtle Beast.
Yeah.
Yep. It's called Myrtle Beast Bigfoot Festival. It's going to be a lot of fun. And in the fall, in October, we're going to have Ghosts and Legends. And that's going to be the Saturday before Halloween. That's going to be a lot of fun. there's lots of ghosts and legends down here in this area. So come join us. And that information will be up on my site, ScaryCast.com. So enjoy it. And by the way, I have had so much fun. Y'all are two of the nicest people I've had the pleasure of being on a show with, and it's so good that we're all interested in the same thing.
Well, I'm glad we finally met. We've seen you several times on Jessica's show, and
okay,
we'll bring you back and we'll finish up Tartaria, but I also want you back again, and we're talking Sasquatch, because that's one of my favorite subjects too, is Bigfoot.
Yeah. Well, let's get close to the Georgia Bigfoot Conference, and I'll be glad to come back and talk about Sasquatch. We were out at a cemetery in Lakemont, Georgia, trying to find Sasquatch. We were not successful, but we have been successful before that location. So we'll see. We'll keep on going. We'll keep doing research, because that's what life's all about for me. Let's keep the research going.
Yes,
absolutely.
I agree.
I'm very interested in hearing about your conference or your thing about the flat Earth. That we did a show of Jessica the Cryptid Huntress about flat Earth, and we showed I presented some of the maps that I had found that supported or the theory of flat Earth. Not saying that we necessarily are full into flat earthers. I was always raised as a glober, and I still believe in that theory, but it's interesting to go and check out these other things that you find, these maps and some old world maps, and check that out. So I very much would like to be able to tune into your whatever you have going on with the Flat Earth Conference.
Okay. We've got Mark Sargent, who's the head of the Flat Earth Society, on December the 26th, along with Jessica Jones. We're going to be talking about the flat Earth, and boy, that's going to be kind of an exciting time. So December 26th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Mark Sargent, head of the Flat Earth Society, and Jessica Jones, along with me on ScaryCast. We're going to have a blast.
Nice.
Please listen, and it'll be fun.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Well, having said that, this has been a fun evening, and thank you very much, Dr. John, for coming on with us. And we'll just say goodbye to everybody in chat. And we love you all, and thank you for tuning in. You guys all had great questions and observations, and I love how you guys are so loving and kind to each other and us and our guests. So thank you very much for that. And once again, Dr. John, it was a pleasure, and we loved having you. And
thank you.
We'll schedule you to come back and continue this conversation.
Sounds great. Thank you so much.
So having said that, adios, everybody. Love and peace. And we love you all, and we'll see you next Sunday.
And keep your vibrations high. Yep.
Yeah, keep looking up.
And keep your vibrations high.
Till next time, love you all.
Love you all.